Hey guys! So I'm going to wait a few minutes for people to get on, if anyone was going to join tonight. And once I see some people on, or if I wait a few minutes and no one has joined yet, then I will just start. So yeah, and if you are on, if you'll drop a comment saying, hey, I'm here, so I know. Oh, awesome. Hello. So yeah. So we'll wait for just a couple people, and then we'll get going. Hi, Jason. Hi. Oh, and let me get my document up that I'm going to follow along with. It'll kind of help me. And can you guys hear me okay? If not, let me know and I can speak softer or louder or whichever is better. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Good. See, we have 3 people on. So I'll give it just like another minute and then I will begin. And if I'm looking down, it's because I'm reading my notes that I have. I should have said that. Two people. Okay, so I'm going to start, and I'm going to introduce myself first. So I'm Haley Beard, and I'm a music therapist in Texas, in the North Texas area. I'm right north of Dallas, and I work for a company called Music Therapy Services of Texas, and we service music therapy to school districts in this North Texas region that are not big enough to hire a full-time music therapist, so I contract my work out, and I love my job, and it's a lot of fun, and I am really excited about sharing this with you all. I've never done a live video, so I really hope I do it correctly, but I think everyone that's going to be on is on, and if you just joined, because somebody just joined, you can, you know, drop a comment and say hi so I know who you are. But I'm going to start with my tips and everything. And, oh, Liz is on. Hi, Liz. So, the first thing I want to start off with is I just plan to go over my tips for like studying for the exam and dealing with anxiety before and during the exam, and things that are going to help you study effectively and prepare you in that mindset. It's not going to be information to study, like what books or things like that, because I think a lot of people touch base on that, and I'm not going to really go into a whole lot of detail about being a new professional, because I feel like that is just such an amazing thing in itself that needs like a whole separate video. I just really want to stick to the CBMT, because I know when I was studying and getting ready for it, the whole like beyond that test just didn't seem to matter at that time. So for me, what was happening for the test was kind of my world at that moment. So I hope that's okay. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So the first thing I want to talk about is if you do not have somebody to study with, you need to get someone to study with. Oh, and I didn't mention this in the beginning. I took the test 3 times. So the first time when I took it, I failed by just a couple of points. The second time I took it, which there was a longer space in between that, so I took it in August of 2016, and then I didn't retake it until January of this year, 2017, and I failed by even more, and then I retook it in March of this year, and so I waited almost like exactly 30 days. And so, it wasn't in January the second time, it was in February. So I waited almost exactly 30 days, and one of the big things that was different the first 2 times I took it and when I failed was I didn't study with anybody. I mean, I did study a little bit with my husband, and he drilled me and kind of helped me with like definitions and looking over the self-assessment and things like that. But I didn't have like somebody who was familiar with music therapy and knew a lot about the major within itself. So the third time I took it, I studied with someone who was also studying to take the CBMT and had a lot of the same things I was going through and knew a lot of the information, and it was just, for me, a lot better study partner than having friends or family. But I understand, like, if that's the only person that you have, then by all means use them, utilize it, because I really do believe that having that person to ask you and make you regurgitate that information is just so crucial in preparing and putting active knowledge in your head. So the very first thing I would say before I read any of this list that I have is make sure you find a buddy, because I really think that's one of the biggest things that helped me pass the third time. So the other big thing I have to say is each time I took it, I kind of changed some of the approaches I took, like as far as my mentality going in, the way I studied, things like that, because I kind of had that mentality that, well, if I didn't pass it the first time, then, I need to study a different way, or I need to look at it a different way. And I will say that was beneficial for me, being so open-minded to look at different ways of studying and realizing things about myself, that areas I needed to work more in, or if there were areas that I was really strong in, I didn't want to keep attacking that, because I know with me and having anxiety, and that's something I'm going to touch base about as well, but with anxiety, it's so easy to leave out the parts that you don't know because it makes you anxious, and just keep studying and keep looking over the things that you do know. And so you feel really great about the things you do know, but please don't ask me about that stuff that I haven't looked at yet. So for me, it was kind of finding the best way to study for my anxiety and finding the mentality to make myself study the stuff I didn't want to study. So let me dive into the tips, because I know I've already been on for a little bit. So these are some things I found online, and I tried them out, some of them, and I'm going to share the things that worked for me, the things that didn't maybe, but will work for you. But the first thing I want to say before I read all this is, do not try all of these. I think there are 10 tips right here, and they are not designed for you to do all 10 of them, because it's too much. It won't be effective. You just need to pick 2 to 4 off this list. I wouldn't even say 4, maybe 2 to 3 off this list that you want to try for either studying or taking the exam. So the very first thing is, my tip number 1 is, whenever you get into the exam room and they give you that scratch piece of paper, and if you haven't taken the exam, I guess I should explain that. When you get into the exam, they will give you a piece of scratch paper that is yours to use however you want to write any information on you want, or not use it at all, whatever. It's totally up to your discretion and how you want to use it. So, for me, I'm very visual, and I don't know if there's anyone else out there who is visual, but this is what worked for me. I took that piece of scratch paper, and as soon as I sat down, like before I pressed anything on the computer, before I signed in, anything, I wrote down everything that I was afraid I was going to forget. If that meant certain definitions, if that meant open tuning, like the strings, if that meant cadences, whatever. If I was an area that I was afraid that once my anxiety was going and my adrenaline was going, that I was going to just totally blank on, because that did happen the first 2 times I took the test, that there were things I knew that were not coming to me. So I just took that piece of paper, and right at the top I wrote down everything, and it wasn't a lot, but I probably, the whole piece of paper, I probably took like 1/4 of one side just to say, okay, this is the information that I know I'm probably going to have to use. Based on when I took it the first 2 times. So that's the first thing I would tell you to do, is definitely utilize that piece of paper and write down everything you need. Sorry, I'm adjusting. So the second thing is to double check your answers. So there's a lot of people that have different opinions on this, and I'll just give you what worked for me. The first time I took the test, I double checked the answers, and I was so full of anxiety and doubt that I started changing things, and I don't know if that was to my advantage or not. I failed by, like I said, a couple points, so I'm not sure if it helped me get closer or if it knocked me down. But the second time I took the test, I did not check any of the answers, and I failed by more. So once again, I don't know. Once again, and I never will. But the third time I took it, I did check the answers, and there were things I changed, and there were things I noticed that I was like, wait a minute. I guess in the moment I didn't read the question carefully, or I confused it with something else, or I didn't read the answer carefully, and there were some that I changed that I really do believe I changed to the right answer. So I would say, if you have the time, double check your answers, because I think it makes a difference. You're already so built up and in speed mode that there can be something that you have just misread. I mean, it happens. You have 150 questions. I can guarantee you that one of those, you probably just read something wrong. It happens. It's just part of error. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt and make time to go back and check. So tip number 3, this is something I did not do, but it was on one of the things that I looked at when I was looking at test tips. It was to make a fake cheat card. Okay, so like in high school, your teacher would say, if you could fit, or you can take in one note card with you to the test. And so you can fit as much information on that note card as you want, because you're going to take it into the test, and it's going to help you pass or whatever. So this is a fake one that you're going to use to write everything on that you think you need to know for this exam. And you can write it as little as you want, front to back, whatever you want to do. And obviously you're not going to take it into the exam with you, but what this is doing is this is helping you actively learn, like whether you know it or not. As you're writing things down and as you're having to copy that information down, you're putting it in your memory. You're learning it. And this is something that, if you are visual like me, that could really, really help you, because you're seeing it in front of you and you're saying, okay, this is the most crucial information on the test, and this is what I am deciding to put on this card, this one card, and this card is important enough to take in, so whatever's on here needs to be the most important facts. So if you're putting it on there, you know that this is something that is very important for this test. And by putting it on there and by writing it on there, you're getting your brain to remember it. So, like I said, not something I tried, but I have heard it work for some people, especially ones that maybe have trouble remembering things or are visual learners. This could be a good way to actively study and try to put information in. Maybe if you didn't pass the first time you took it and you want to try a different way of studying, it could be a good way to try. So that is number 3. Number 4 is make and take quizzes off the information you have gone over. So we have the self-assessment evaluation that CBMT gives us, and that thing is very important. And that being said, I wouldn't solely rely on it. I would take that practice test, and I look over it right after you take it, kind of put the nuggets in your head of, okay, either I knew that and I misread it and that was a stupid mistake, or, oh, I really didn't know that. I need to write that down, and that needs to be something that I really look over and read up on. So that's like one of the quizzes that I think, helps us a lot. But also, this kind of goes back to the study partner. I didn't actually make quizzes like a test and take it, but if you have a study partner that can verbally quiz you and drill you on your information that you know and knowledge, I think that kind of suffices as that. And having that person make you regurgitate that information is something that I think is really going to help you. So that's my personal advice for taking the quizzes. But if you actually want to make a quiz, I say go for it. I think that's something that could really help you too. Let's see. We're on number 5. So, simulate the test conditions as best as you can when studying. Putting a timer on that simulates the test time. So, trying to remember what this is. So, like, when you're studying, I think it's good, and this isn't all the time, but I think it's good sometimes to put yourself in the situation that you're going to be in when you're taking the test. Like I said, high anxiety. You are being timed. Questions are really hard, and you've got people around you, and they are quiet for the most part, but, people just naturally make noise. And, you're sitting in a chair instead of laying on your bed, or, this could be first thing in the morning versus if you study only at night. So I think all of these things are important to remember, because then when you go in to take the test, it's not such a culture shock to you. Like, I only studied my test right before, 10 minutes right before I went to bed. So I was laying down on my back, and I was tired, and it was quiet, and it was nighttime, no big deal. And then you get in, and you go and you take a 9 a.m. test, and there's 20 people in that room, and it's totally different. You never know. And that could just throw you off completely. So I think if you kind of mentally prepare yourself for what environment you're going to be in, that's going to help you in the long run without you even realizing it. So let's see, that was number 6. So number 7, this is something I didn't do, but it was something that it advised, was to study on a walk or outside. What the video I watched said is studying outside or going on a walk while you're studying is really good for helping you retain information. And I can't remember for some reason why it said that, but it did have some statistic or something that people who actively study outside or something, they do better on tests. And I'm sorry that I can't remember or give more information on that, but that was just one of the tips. So if you're an outside person and the environment and the wind and right now the pollen and everything crazy doesn't bother you, I say go outside and take it in, because it is beautiful right now in the spring, and according to studies it could help you. So yeah. Number 8. Oh, this is a really good one. Okay. Learning the information will take longer than you expect. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Learning the information will take longer than you expect, because if you're like me and you have anxiety, you don't want it done tomorrow, you want it done yesterday, and you just get on this anxiety drive of it has to be done, and you don't give yourself enough grace for what it is you're actually needing to do. So I think this was a big problem the second time I took the test. I took the test in August, like I said the first time, And I then took the test the second time at the beginning of February, and I only gave myself like a month to study. And maybe that wouldn't have been a big deal if I had taken it right after I took it the first time, but because it had been a few months, it was not enough time to learn everything. And I just don't think I gave myself enough grace, and I wasn't realistic about just about how much information we need to learn, because I've heard a lot of people talk about this, but I mean, the CBMT, it is a big monster, and it's got a lot. And if you haven't taken it before, just so you know, or if you have taken it before, you never know what order of questions you're going to get. It always changes. They have like a pool, from what I've heard, they have like a pool of questions, and it's just random. You don't know what you're going to get. So that being said, you kind of have to know a little bit of everything. And I mean, that's what they want. That's what they're testing over. And so when you're studying this, if you're like me, I looked at everything I had to do, and I went on CBMT and looked at that list that they had, and I was like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? Like, I don't even know. How much information do I need to know? Where do I begin? What's important? What's not important? And that totally stressed me out. And, I just kind of had to sit down and make a plan based on, when we talked earlier about the self-assessment exam, I went back and I looked, okay, these are the areas I was strong in. These are the areas I was not strong in. So I really need to make sure I go over this, and I made a plan for that. And I think, like I said, the second time I took the test, I didn't give myself enough time to take on that big list of things that I needed to know. And I think in the end that hurt me. So while we are in a hurry to get jobs, I mean, we just got off of an unpaid internship. Most of us. There are some that are paid. But for most of us, we got off of an unpaid internship. We're taking this exam so we can get a music therapy job. And we have bills to pay, and life happens, and it can feel like it's stressful and things need to happen now. But I think in the long run, you're going to be thankful if you're more realistic and give yourself however much time you need to study, because everyone studies differently and more effectively for themselves. But I think if you are realistic about what you need, and then even maybe if you go a little longer than that, because sometimes we're not realistic with ourselves as much as we think we are, but give yourself that grace period after what you think is a realistic date. I think in the long run that's going to help you, because you may be pushing your test back 2 weeks later than you want to be, but you could also be saving yourself $325 and a 30-day wait period if you failed it. So, that's something that I had to learn the hard way. And the third time, I did give myself a little over a month to study it. And that helped me, I think, a lot. So let's see. We are on number 9. So do the biggest, hardest things first and break it into small, doable tasks. You have more willpower in the beginning of the day, so the longer you put things off, the less likely they are to happen. I think this can kind of go for anything in life, If you wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm not going to exercise this morning, I'll do it tonight. Well, after the long day of work and the long list of things you had to do that day, you get home and you're exhausted, and you probably are less motivated to do it at that time than you were in the morning. And maybe you're not, but that's just me, and that's how I am. But the thing with studying is it kind of goes the same way. If you put the big scary things off till the end, or the areas that you don't really know till the end, they're less likely to happen, because 1, you don't have the energy, and 2, you don't have the motivation to do it. So for me, this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier in the video. With anxiety, it's easy to do the easy stuff first and put off the hard stuff because it makes you anxious. This is a prime example of where I had to learn to study different and more effectively for myself. I had to realize what I was doing, and I had to realize that I was severely putting off things that I didn't know that I thought I knew, because I was putting in my head that, oh, well, I've been studying. I know what's on that test. I'm good to go. But, 2 failures showed I didn't know what was on that test. And so, I think that if you can realize this about yourself, or whatever your habits are, or whatever's going on with you, like if you are someone that puts things off, or you are someone that gets anxious, just bite the bullet and do it. Whatever that big, scary thing is, just rip it off like a Band-Aid and just get it done. Because I think after you do it, you're going to feel a lot less anxious and you're going to feel a lot better. And in the end, it's going to help you a lot more for taking that exam. So I know that's a hard one, but that's something that I did on the 3rd exam that I didn't do on the other 2, and I really think it helped me a lot. So number 10 is appreciate the test-taking experience. View as recall and application. So this is something that I did that was a little different as well. And I think this is good for us with anxiety. So if you have anxiety, the test is horrible. It is the worst thing ever that you don't want to do. And I think that's part of the problem. I think that because you think it's the worst thing and you don't want to do it, that maybe you're going in there with that mentality whether you know it or not. And I talked to a close friend of mine who kind of gave me a slap in the face after I failed it the 2nd time, and he goes, well, do you ever think that possibly you could be self-sabotaging and not knowing it? And it kind of was like a light went off in my head or something. I was making this test this super scary, horrible thing. Well, if something's scary and horrible, of course you're not going to want to go in and do it, and you're just pretty much putting up with it to get it done. It's not something that's actually enjoyable. But if you change that mentality and you go in and you use the test as an opportunity to just see exactly how much knowledge you do have. Like, say you did fail it. Instead of looking at it as a failure, look at it at how much knowledge you have gained and how much knowledge you did have and that you now have because you have studied for this exam. And if you flip that into the glass half full, I think it's going to make a huge difference whether you know it or not. It may be completely subconscious. With me, it kind of was. And when you go in and you have that positive outlook, it's all of a sudden not this scary thing, but it's this opportunity to take advantage of the wonderful things you've got to learn and experience in your internship and experience during your degree, and it's just a direct reflection of what you have to offer, essentially. So that's my 10 tips. I have like a few other little things that I want to go over, and then I will open it up for questions in case somebody wants to ask me something. So let's see. Let me go down. Okay, so this is when you're taking the test. This is like during it, and when anxiety is high, adrenaline's high, and you're on the clock. So first thing is take breaks. You need them. You need them, whether you think you do or not. And it doesn't have to be more than 20 seconds, but when you get 50 questions in, because if you break it up 3 sets of 50, every 50 questions, I would stretch in my chair, and this is something I did on the 3rd test that I didn't do on the other 2. I just kind of barreled through it, and I took my time, and I would just close my eyes, kind of rub my head, and I would just give myself a deep couple breaths, then I'd open them up, and I'd go back to where I was. Okay, this is going to sound crazy to some of you. Once again, I've heard different things on this, but this is something that worked for me. Do not skip around on that test. Seriously. First 2 times, I skipped around like crazy. And you know what it ended up doing? It ended up costing me time, causing me anxiety, and just making the whole experience like this super messy thing. So for me, I see some love buttons. Thank you. For me, I would say do not do it. I think it wastes time to skip around. I don't care if you don't know that question. You pick an answer and you move on. And so something else that I forgot to mention at the very beginning of the test, after you enter that information on there, I would take that paper and I would make 1 through 150 on it. And as you're going through the test, and I'm sorry, I really should have mentioned this earlier. This is very important. As you're going through that test, I would put, if you know it, a check mark. If it's between 2 answers, you put B and D on that number. If you don't know it at all, like deer in headlights, circle it or put a question mark next to it. And so this is like, if I could say anything was the most important out of this whole video, this right here to me is the most important. So after you have this system down where you do it like this, I would then, if there's a question that's between just 2, do not bookmark it on the test. And I should explain that too. On the test, if there's a question you do not know, you have the option to bookmark it, and what it does is it shows you as you're going which ones are in yellow are ones that are bookmarked and you think you should go back to. So as you're going down this thing, the 2 things I've got to say is, 1, whether you are between 2 choices or you have no idea what it is, choose an answer. Choose an answer, and then if it is one you have no idea what it is, bookmark it. If it's one that's between 2 answers, do not bookmark it. The first 2 times I took the test, bookmarked every single one, and I was like, I don't know, maybe, I'm between this, I have no idea. And you know what that left me with? 60 to 70 yellow questions at the end of that test that I had to go back and go through, and that I totally freaked out about because it really made me feel stupid. At the end of this test, look back and see all these questions that I have to go back and check, and I'm like, did I really not know this much information? Was I really that unsure in myself? And, you know, I think that taking it the way I did was really good for my anxiety the 3rd time. Only, what's the word I'm looking for? Checking the ones that you have absolutely no idea what it is saves you a lot of headache in the end. Because at the end of the 3rd one, I want to say I only had like 10 questions that I had no idea. That's huge. That's a huge difference. Going from 70 to 10. Like, can you imagine my anxiety level? I was like, oh, I've got this. If I don't know all 10 of those questions, well, you know what? I know 140 of them. So that made me feel a lot better in myself. So, to go back to what I said, create this list and, give yourself that visual of what you do and what you don't know, and then only check the ones that you absolutely do not know. And then at the very end, if you've gone through the ones that you all checked and you still have time, because I did after my 3rd time, if you still have time, then you can go back to the ones then that are between 2 choices. But for me, I feel like if you're between 2 choices, you have a better chance of getting that right than the ones that you have no idea what they are and you just guessed, and those are the ones that are the priority that you need to spend your time on versus the ones that you have a general idea about. And I will say this method saved me so much time the 3rd time. The first 2 times I took it, I went down to the last second and I still had questions I hadn't even gotten to yet. The 3rd time, I had 30 minutes. 30 minutes left that I could just go through everything, take my time, do what I want, and I even ended it early. And I think that not skipping around having that visual and not bookmarking every single thing will help you. So there's my like big nugget of, if you take anything away from this video, do that. It will help you so much. Let's see. I don't know if I have anything else. Don't skip around. Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah, thank you, Jason. So now I'm going to open it up to questions, if anybody has any questions for me. And I'm scooting a little closer so I can read my phone if anyone does. I will be happy to answer if there's anybody who wants some tips or advice on something, or if there was something I wasn't clear about and you wanted some clarification. I would be really happy to help. And if you don't have any questions and you're on this video, if you'll just type a comment that, oh, thanks, Mary. If you don't have any questions, just type a little thing that says, you know, I don't have any questions, or thank you, or something like that. So I appreciate it. I'll just wait a few minutes because I know it takes a little bit to type if someone does have something to say. In the meantime, I'll see if I can think of anything else because I really feel like I am forgetting something. I don't know. Maybe not. Now I'm going to look over my thing one more time while I'm giving you time. I am interested in a study buddy. Okay, Jason, I will reach out to you after this video because I may have some people that are studying for it that could help you, and y'all could study together. What books did you use again? Okay, so books. Let me go back. So the self-assessment was something that I did study a lot, and I'm trying to think of the other ones. I used the intro book just because that covers not so many, like every population pretty much that you need. And I will be honest, I did not read like cover to cover any of the books really. I more just went through it really quick and like took the key nuggets out. So the books I'm recommending, I know there are people that read them all, like the whole book in its entirety, but for me, once again, like I said before, I had so much information I needed to take in that I felt like if I read it all, that I would never, ever get it done. So the intro book was huge. The Hanser book is a really good one as well. I honestly, like Brusha's Defining Music Therapy, I haven't had a lot of people talk about that one too much. But I think as far as learning like your definitions of music therapy, and especially like the definitions that may be in different settings, that's really a good one to read as well. I'm trying to think what else there is. Be really confident in your approaches, and study the, oh my gosh, is it Daro? It's the black one with the keyboard on it. That's the Approaches in Music Therapy. Know your approaches, for sure. Jason, yes, the intro book, that is correct. The white one. Yes, you are spot on with that. That is a good one for just go into each section that it's going over a different population to just go over briefly and familiarize yourself with things like that. You're welcome, Matthew. Okay, so do I have any more questions? And feel free to ask anything. I'm more than happy to help. I'm trying to think of any other study tools I used. Oh, there is, what is it called? It's not Quizlet. it's the note card one. Ugh. Someone's going to know what I'm talking about, but I can't remember the name. The note card one where people can put note cards online. There's a note card one that has all of the terms from the Hanser book all typed out. I studied that thing a lot because I noticed the first couple times, like mainly the first time I took the test, I wasn't as familiar with definitions and terms. And that term that you don't know in that question on the test can totally change the whole entire question, especially if it's something dealing with a diagnosis or a setting or anything along that line. So I would Google that and look it up to try to see if you can find those note cards that are online that someone has typed up, and just review them. Just review them a lot because they helped me quite a bit in getting down definitions. So let's see. Do you guys have any more questions for me? And I am going to go over this one more time. Make sure I didn't forget anything. Oh, you know what? I did just think of one more thing. Note cards are called. Okay, I will go to that in 1 second. I'm going to do this thing that, of course I've already, forgotten what it was. Let me see if I can remember what it was going to be. Oh, just so you know, when you're taking the test, I highly suggest that you really read the questions, because there are some questions on there that, I hate to say it like this, but there are some questions on there that they may be trying to trick you a little bit. And, I think it's beneficial that you really read it and read it one more time just to make sure you fully understood. Because as I talked about earlier, there were some questions that I went back and I changed when I double checked my answers. And when I did this, there were a few questions on there that I realized, oh, wait a minute. They were asking me something else and I just was not paying attention. So that's the only tidbit I'll say about that, because I don't want to talk about it too much. But, okay, so the note cards really quick. I cannot remember what website they're on. It's not Quizlet. It's the other one, I think. Maybe it is No, maybe it is Quizlet. Anyway, you can look up. It's the definitions from the Hanser book. And so if you look up that, I think if you look up definitions from Hanser book or music therapy or something like that, and I can tell you who they're by, and I know she probably doesn't mind. It's by Sarah Folkening. She had done this when she studied for the CBMT, and she graduated at the same college I did. So she passed along that link to me, and you know what? I'll just find the link, and I'll just drop it in the comment section here so you guys can have access to it, because those were awesome, and I was so happy that she shared them with me. And thank you, Annie. That is so nice. I appreciate it. Well, if there are no more questions, then I'm going to end the video, and I'll post that link right after I get off. And if you have anything else that you think of, feel free to comment on this video even after it's not live anymore, and I'll try to go back and answer your questions through commenting if I can. Thank you all for joining. I know that you all have a busy week, so I appreciate you spending your Tuesday night, or Wednesday night, see, I don't even know what day of the week it is, Wednesday night with me, and listening to what tidbits I had for you. Thank you all, and I hope you have a good one. Bye!